Nā mihi mahana kia koutou katoa. Welcome, warm greetings friends to this Gospel reflection again, which comes to us from Luke 19 verses 11 to 27 today. A while back, the lectionary and our roster for these reflections paired me up with the Matthew 25 version of today's text. There are a lot of similarities between that text and the context that Luke places the story in today, although Luke adds some extra things to communicate something different than Matthew. The text is called the parable of the pounds. So what is going on around this parable and what could it be about? The story really starts in Luke 18:31. Jesus and his band are travelling to Jerusalem on the road so that the things written by the prophets can be accomplished in the Son of Man. As they are nearing Jericho, there is a blind beggar called Bartimaeus who hears the noise of this band approaching. "Who is this that's coming?" he asks, and on finding out it was Jesus, he calls out loudly, embarrassingly loudly, "Come and help me see, please, Jesus." Jesus, of course, heals Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus joins the crew and continues into Jericho with Jesus. And as they come into town, there is another man, a marginalised and unliked man, who also wants to see Jesus. Zacchaeus climbs a tree. Jesus sees him and invites him to come down so he can go and have lunch at his house. On the way to Zacchaeus' house, Jesus, with his band of beggars, including Bartimaeus now, there is this transformational moment for Zacchaeus. Maybe he's challenged and confronted by his life and the effect that it has on the poor, we don't know. But in this moment, the kingdom of God becomes real for him, and he decides to redistribute his falsely and illegitimately gained wealth. Jesus at this point declares that salvation has come to this house. This is amazing writing by Luke, as he describes here how Mary's song, the Magnificat, recorded in Luke chapter 1, becomes reality. The poor would be lifted up like Bartimaeus and given dignity. The rich would be brought low and sent away empty-handed, as Zacchaeus is now, as he comes down from his tree and redistributes his wealth. The goodness of God is becoming real. This is the lead-in to our text, to our story about a nobleman who goes away on a trip and leaves his servants in charge of his wealth. Sorry, I'm having trouble with the sun. It's well worth reading and rereading this text and digging for the deep message, the deeper story that is included. Now, for years, this text has been used on Stewardship Sunday to encourage us to be faithful with our wealth and to give to church projects. I'm not so sure that Luke has this in mind as he's listening to Jesus and watching Jesus today. Jesus is expecting to be mocked, scourged and put to death when he gets to Jerusalem soon, which is a similar fate to the wicked and lazy servant in the parable of the pounds that Luke writes about today. Our nobleman cannot be a God figure like he is often painted as being, rewarding his servant's faithfulness like we have heard for so long. Because God is not an austere figure who punishes people for not reaping what they did not sow, or not collecting what they did not deposit. Those practices are called stealing, theft, robbery and extortion. Nothing to do with the way of Jesus. This must be a cautionary tale to warn us about the way the world of wealth accumulation works, and that by choosing to live in the way of Jesus, we will be in danger of being trampled by it also. There is a cost in following Jesus, as Renee reminded us recently. If you're feeling screwed over by the financial system, maybe the prison system, and are not fitting in with the way the wealthy want us to live, you are not alone. Jesus sees you. Hang in there. We all know that this has been a crazy year with COVID affecting us all in some way. And when it first appeared, we were told here in New Zealand that house prices would fall, people would lose their jobs and our society would fall apart. Here in Aotearoa, house prices have not fallen. They have continued to rise at a staggering rate. meaning that only those with increasing wealth can buy them. Of course, this means bigger mortgages, which means bigger rents that the poor have to pay who cannot scrape a deposit together to buy their own house. But somehow they're still able to pay these exorbitant weekly rents. You see, there's a strange quirk of law here. Maybe it's in your country too. Those of us who are poor enough qualify for an accommodation supplement from the government to help pay our rent. Great news for those who are already rich enough to own multiple properties, as their rent charges are now topped up from the tax pool the government collects each week. Are the tax collectors of today really the landlords, getting rich through the false means of government-sponsored weekly rents? May we have eyes to see, like Bartimaeus and Zacchaeus, that salvation comes, that the kingdom of God comes to us when the poor are lifted up and the rich are brought low, so that their excessive wealth can be redistributed fairly. I encourage us all to wrestle with this text and discover what Jesus is really teaching us. May we faithfully serve Jesus and not the rich nobles who get wealthy by harvesting what they did not sow or deposit. We may get smashed over by the financial system and cast out. Our prisons today are a real tool to farm the poor and make the rich richer. Be very aware of this system, says Jesus. And this story reads us, of course, and questions us today. Who are our kin? Who are we connected to? What do we aspire to have in this life? The poor, like Bartimaeus, are a gift to us to liberate us from the lies of wealth and power. Like Zacchaeus, may we not be ashamed or afraid of being cast out or slayed with them. After all, our club motto in God Squad is Jesus, friend of outcasts and sinners. May we be known as this. So again, we have an incredibly challenging story from Jesus. This road is not an easy one, but it is the way to the kingdom of God. May we be strong together, keep encouraging each other to stick together and keep going, no matter how much we get smashed or trampled by the wealthy. Rangamārie kia koutou katoa. Cheers and God bless you, friends.